Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and today I'm going to show you how to do a Vipera Berus chain. This is going to be just a single row of this, or just a band of this. If you look closely, this actually is made up of 2 rows, but we're going to do this all in one process. I do have kits available for this. I know that we've got this one available in a kit, which is silver with kind of mermaid colors, and I think I still have a kit or 2 left in this color too, which is a more kind of tropical, bright colored vibe. But I wanted to show you, before I show you this video, what this looks like when you do it in just a single color. And you can see that the texture that you're going to get from this basket weave is just absolutely astounding. This is probably one of the absolute favorite chainmail weaves that's out there. You can see that it handles color really well. I have this one color blocked. You could do a color blocked rainbow, all sorts of things. And the way I'm going to teach you is probably the easiest way. We're going to start with a center chain of 1 color, and then we're going to add 3 colors to the outside. I'd like for you to learn with colors because it's much easier than when you have to see the pattern all in 1 color and it all kind of blends together. So, you know, when you're learning chainmail, don't be afraid of color. Go ahead and master the weave first in multiple colors so that you can see better what's happening. And then as you progress, you can try different patterns with it, and then you can try doing it all in 1 color once you really feel like you have a good handle on it. So I will have other Vipera Berus tutorials for you. This is the one that I would start with, mainly because it's pretty tight. It's just going to be this main row, or the 2 rows of it, or single row of it, however you want to refer to this. Okay, it's just going to be this band. You can't really expand on this. This is just the unvarnished truth of the weave. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, but do keep in mind that there will be more to come with this. Okay, so to start a Vipera Berus, first of all, I just want to show you, I didn't feel like I needed to go through this with you. This is just a 1x1 chain. We're using the 18 gauge 5/32 jump rings, okay? And I made this long 1x1 chain, okay? And this chain is going to be folded up as we work. So even though this looks like I'm preparing for a necklace, I'm really not. This is about the size that the bracelet needs to be, okay? And each step of the way, we're going to fold these rings up until they're bracelet size, okay? And this center row here is actually going to be 2 rows of the work. And if you want to understand, because I'm not going to show you the folded method of this, but just so you can get a feel, you know, it's going to be kind of like this. See how this ring folded up over here, and you know, this ring would fold back over here. So we're not going to do it that way. As I said, there's a lot easier way to do it. I'm not sure why I don't see people teach this way more often, because I think it's a lot easier, but we're going to do it a little different. So I have, this is gunmetal in the center, and then I have the matte light pink, a matte silver frost, and a matte seafoam. And I just felt like it'd be easier for you to see that way. So with the shiny and the matte. Okay, so actually let me grab this one over here. Okay, so hopefully by now you have gone through my double cloud cover video, and if you have, you'll have a pretty good idea about what I'm talking about here. But when we pick up our first ring, the reason I have this all on a paper clip is because we want to see directionality as we're doing this. Okay, so I am noticing that my paper clip, like I pulled the big part forward, so I always know what the front is, because we're gonna be working on the front, and then we're gonna turn it over and work on the back. So I always wanna be cognizant of what my front and back is going to be, okay? So much like in double cloud cover, the first 2 rings that we add, we're gonna be focusing on these first 4 units of chain, okay? So I wanna go 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So the first ring that I add is I'm gonna concern myself with rings 3 and ring 1. And then the second ring that I'm gonna add, I'm gonna concern myself with rings 2 and 4, okay? So not too hard. Let's get started. So the first ring I'm gonna add, what I wanna do, just like in the double cloud cover, is I wanna go this way. So from right to left through ring 3, and then I wanna allow that to come up and go right to left through ring 1. And I'm gonna do that once I get the ring through here, okay? I'm gonna do that by turning this clockwise, okay? So I'm gonna take my paper clip and I'm gonna turn it clockwise so that I can enter that top ring in the direction that I want to. Okay, so ring 3, passing right to left, and now I know I want to pass right to left through this first ring here. Okay, so like I said, first row is always a little fiddly, but there you go. You see me turning it. I've pretty much turned it onto the back side, okay, in order to do that. And so when I'm closing this ring, I'm actually closing it on the back of the chain. Okay, so that's our first link to this. Okay, now, remember I paid attention to how my paper clip was. I know this is facing forward for me. So now I want to turn this onto the back side. Okay, and then like I said, I want to concern myself with ring 4 and ring 2. So with ring 4, I want to take my next matte light pink, go through ring 4 from right to left, and then I'm going to let it come up through ring 2. Okay, so it's just going to go from front to back. It's just going to go straight through there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm passing right to left, and then see how this is folding this up for me, so I don't have to spend a lot of Okay, now I'm going to, I'm looking at this on the back, and you can see this looks like the double cloud cover. See how it's got the 2 rings kind of pinching in towards one another, okay? But now I want to be back on the front again, and you'll notice that these rings slant outward, okay? So they're making kind of a V. All right, so our next color is going to be Silver Frost. Okay, so now instead of looking at units of 4, I just really need to look at the next ring that needs to get folded into the piece. Okay, so this next ring that's going to be integrated into the piece is the first one that doesn't have any rings going through it. Okay, so see how the pink is going through this one here? I want to actually be looking at this next one down. So I'm going to do the same thing, but we're going to add a step this time. So this time I'm going to take this Silver Frost and I'm going to go from right to left. Okay, but when I come back up to this ring here, which is the, I'm looking for the pink ring, or the ring that I just added that's on the right-hand side, okay? So when I go through here, what I want to do is shoot down through the hole that involves this this gunmetal ring and the pink ring. Okay, so I'm going to shoot down through both, and I'm going to show you that. Okay, so right to left, and then I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to pass down through. See how I'm passing through both the pink and the gunmetal here? Okay, and then this is going to get closed on the back side. When you're working with matte rings, you need to spend a little bit more time making sure that the closures are good, because you really see it if they're not. Okay, so you can see that that's now passing through this pink. So the pink was had an angle down, you know, from outside to inside. Now this has an angle from inside to outside. Okay, just to point that out. Now we're going to turn this onto the back side. Okay, and again, I want to concern myself with this next ring down. I'm going to be using a silver frost again. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass from right to left through this ring, and then I'm going to come back up through here, and I'm going to pass through again the gunmetal as well as the pink. Okay, so both of those where they overlap. Okay, right to left, and then see once again how I'm going through both of those rings. Okay, the pink and the gunmetal. Okay, that looks good to me. All right. Now I have to remember that I'm on the back side, but oh, you can see it forming though. See how we have this angle, this angle's this way, this angle's back up this way, and we have the same thing going, the opposite angles, they're alternating, starting to form that basket weave, okay? So now I'm gonna bring it back to the front again, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, and this is where most people get stuck and they can't go further and they can't figure out what we're doing. So I'm gonna go through this very plainly, and I think seeing it, you're gonna understand it right away, but this is a hard thing to see in a tutorial, and a lot of people have to read it several times to really understand what it means, so they do eventually figure it out. Okay, so we're gonna take our new seafoam green, our matte seafoam, we're gonna go right to left through this next ring, just like we've been doing. And then when we come up here to this ring, see how this pink, the pink angles this way? So we need this to be angling in, this green to be angling in the same pattern as the pink. So in order to do that, when we come up here to go through, we're coming in through the outside of the silver frost ring. Okay, not through, it's real easy to kind of shoot through here and come up through both of these, but you're not coming through this way. You're gonna come through this way, okay? And that is what makes the alternating effect happen, because we're gonna continue just like we have in row 2 and row 3. So, you know, on these next two, we're coming in from the outside, and then the next two after that, we're coming in from the inside and working out, okay? And that's what creates this basket weave effect that is so pretty in the Vipera Berus. Okay, so I'm going right to left, and then I'm coming from the outside to the inside. Okay, so see how I'm kind of turning this on its side in order to achieve that? Okay, and see how we're going through the gunmetal and the silver frost there. We're just coming through it at a different angle. And let me close. Okay, and this is where it gets exciting. You can see that. So see how the pink and the green have the same angle, and then the silver frost is angled the other way. Now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same exact thing. So we're just going from right to left, and then when we come through this silver frost that's above us, we're going to be coming in from the outside to the inside. Okay, so right to left, and then again right to left. Really, you can look at it that way too. Okay. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so again, we're on the back side here. You can see our 3 rows. And I'm going to flip it over, and then you can see the front side. Okay, so you see the pinks and the greens angled out. The pinks and the greens on this side angle in, and you can see that the silver frost is angling a different way. Now, I just want to mention specifically, the reason I chose to do 3 colors, or an odd number of colors, is so that as I go through this and as I continue working down the piece, that my rings will be alternating. So in other words, the next pink that I add is not going to be dipping down this way. It's going to be actually going in the opposite direction. So it alternates where the colors land, so it doesn't look repetitive as far as the angles go. And that's why I like to use an odd number. But you can use an even number if you want. If you wanted, like, you know, let's say you were using black and white and you wanted all the black to angle this way and then all the white to angle this way, that's fine. It's just a design choice, but I wanted to point out that design choice that I had made. Okay, so now we're just going to continue on, and I'll show you a little bit more carefully. So we're going to go right to left, and then now we're back to this simply going from front to back through the seafoam and the gunmetal. Okay, and I'm going to flip it over to the back side. And then I'm going to go right to left, through the next ring down, and then just from front to back. This is the easy row, through the seafoam and the gunmetal. Sometimes that row, I just want to mention this, that row felt a little bit tight to me, but I knew I was doing it properly. This particular size we've chosen to work with, 18 gauge 5/32, makes a very tight Vipera Berus, okay? This is just exactly perfect size to make it in. Once we start moving into sheet form, or even when we move to the kinged version of Vipera Berus, with those, it's a little bit looser. So sometimes it's just a matter of this, like, you know, hanging down a little bit more and to get its feel. Okay, so now we are on to our silver frost, and I want to make sure I'm on the front side. So I was paying attention to that paper clip. I wanted to make sure I was on the right side. The other way to see this is that you're always shooting for the row that's higher. See how this pink is higher than that pink? Okay, so if you set down your work and you don't know where you were at, that's how you can tell that you're working on the correct right side. And of course, if you're left-handed, you know, this all flips over to working from your left side on this. But, you know, the principles are the same. So I think this will make sense for everyone. Okay, now we are on the second type of pass-through. Okay, so we're gonna go right to left. And now we have to go from the outside. We're going to go through the gunmetal and then the silver, and we're coming from the outside to the inside. And again, that felt a little tight there for me, so you notice I repositioned my pliers to make sure I wasn't pushing up against any rings or anything like that. Okay, now I'm on the back side, so I'm going to pass through right to left, passing from the outside to the inside again. Okay, and I'm just going to do 2 more quick rows for you. Now we're on green. This time we're inside to outside. We're on an inside to outside row. I'm going to make sure I'm on the right side, noticing that the ring I'm shooting for is up higher than the other ring of that same color. Pass through from right to left. And I'm passing from the inside to the outside. This is the easy row. Okay, on to the back side. Again, passing through right to left. And just shooting from the front to back. This is the easy row again. Inside to outside. Okay. Now I'm going to bring it back to the front again. And we are back to pink. And this pink is going to be the harder row, going from outside to inside. Okay, so pass through right to left. Come up, outside to inside. It's really not hard, it's just remembering the pattern. You know, it's just learning those motions. It's just like anything else, you know, it just takes a little bit of learning. I think having a video is going to make this possible for the experienced beginner rather than the intermediate person to be doing this. Because I think that really showing you and spelling it out like this is going to help you. So as long as you're extremely experienced with opening and closing jump rings, and you've done several, you know, chainmail pieces, even if they were beginner, I think you can achieve this at this point, because I'm really slowing this down for you and, you know, spelling out every step of the way. Okay, so I went from outside to inside. Okay, flip over again. And then you start to see, I want you to see, so see how my pinks both are angled this way, the silver frost are angled this way, green. So you can start to see that if I grow this into a sheet, okay, that I get natural diagonals happening in this pattern. Okay, so I want you to notice that. And also, when I come back, I will come back and just real quickly put on a clasp for you. You know, notice that this is really 2 rows here. You have a row on the right and a row on the left. And the same thing, the gunmetal becomes part of those 2 rows. Okay, so there's really 2 rows happening here. And these rows are on the bias. Okay, so when you have your start and your finish of this, you know, you need to manage that. It's not very wide, so it's really not a big problem, but just so you're aware that this is a weave that ends up being on the bias, okay? So hopefully that's enough for you to keep going on. I want you to go down your entire bracelet. If you purchased a kit that has a size chart in it for you, so you should have known exactly how many rows to add to this center part, and how many rings you needed for this outside part. And you can just keep on going until you have this ready for a clasp, and I'll be back in just a second to show you how to do that. So as you can see, I've finished up my entire chain here. Isn't this beautiful? And remember how long this chain was when we started, and yet you notice it all got shrunk up to bracelet size. Okay, so just a couple comments on finishing it up. So that 1x1 chain I had, I added a couple links to it to just leave this on the end for my little link that my lobster clasp is going to attach to. So what I'm going to do is on the front end, and just so you know, once you get good at this, if you want to start yours this way, start it with the lobster clasp on it, you certainly can. That makes a good hanger too. Okay, so I'm just going to reopen this jump ring and slide that on and reclose it. Okay, so that's all there is to it. This one does really well with a lobster clasp or a toggle or any simple just one hole clasp that you have. Okay, so really easy. You notice I picked gunmetal to accentuate what was in the bracelet. And I tried to end on, you know, keep in mind when you start this, this first row would actually be considered an outside to inside row as opposed to an inside to outside row. So I try and end on an inside to outside row so that, as I said, this is on the bias so that, you know, it just works out really well as far as connections, but it doesn't really matter. Size is more important than that. It's all gonna lay really nicely. This is a beautiful chain. This is, like I said, the tightest size. These are an AR of 3.5 rings. So you can basically work with anything that's that size. If you want to do a micro version, that would be 20 gauge 7/64, just so you know. And you know, you can vary your jump rings, but the reason I think this size is a really good one to learn from the start is that because it's tight, if you do something wrong, you will know right away. You're not going to keep going making mistakes all the way through. You're going to know it right away because you won't be able to go to those next rows. So this makes this really nice. That said though, you could probably use this for earrings, but it really is just a great bracelet band. I don't see a whole lot of other uses for it. You know, possibly as a ring if it was in the smaller size. But you know, these 18 gauge jump rings are fairly easy to open and close. They're not too hard on the hands, so for people who have problems with their hands, not really too bad there. And you know, yet it's small enough to be attractive. It's not big, chunky jewelry that you know, some people love, but not everybody loves that. And just to show you another idea that you can do with this. This is one that I did in you know, different colors all the way down. So in order to achieve this kind of effect, what you're going to want to do is your center row, which we had gunmetal in this, you're going to do your center row with say, let's start here with 4 green. I think I added this ring later. So 4 green, 4 champagne, 4 dark blue, 4 sky blue, 4 seafoam. So in other words, your base row is going to be 4 rings of a given color, and then you're going to you know, be crisscrossing and cinching up, you know, with 2 pairs of that same color. Okay, and so anyway, just a thought, play around with different patterns with this. This is really fun, but this is only going to be just this size, just a simple band, and you're not going to be able to really expand it out in any way unless you're using little components of this and hooking something else into it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a whole lot from this, and I hope that you will like and follow me on YouTube, and all of these jump rings and kits to do this project are available at beadmeastory.com. Thanks so much.